Okay, let's do practice 1 and 5 in tonight's assignment. All right, practice 1, just like we said yesterday, we want to graph this out and then determine the shape of the graph and then what type of graph function family it's in, increasing, decreasing combination, and if it has any maxes and mins as well. So practice 1. A fitness company is selling DVDs for one of its new cardio routines. Each DVD will sell for $15. Due to fixed and variable costs, the profit that company will see after selling so many DVDs can be represented by this function. Now, as we've been talking about, the word problem part of it, again, that's a little bit messy. We're going to talk about throughout the year. We just right now are asking you, can you graph this in your calculator and then analyze that graph? So let me switch over to my screen that has my graphing calculator on it. And as I do that, I just realized I forgot to write down what even that function was, so I don't have to go back and forth. Let me go find it in my notes. All right. So here we go. We're going to type in, okay, we go to y equals. If you've got some stuff there from a previous assignment or class, let's clear it out by hitting the clear button. We're going to type in 11.5. Right up here is your X button. X. Now, minus 0.1 X squared. So there's the X button. Again, now to get the squared, we hit the exponent key. And you can see my cursor is now up there as an exponent. So hit squared, so 2. Now get it down out of there, bring it back down to its original line. So we use our directional pad to move it to the right. That takes it down. And then minus 150. All looks good. Make sure we have it typed in correctly. I think we're good to go. And then we hit graph. Now, as I graph this thing out, the same thing happened as yesterday. It's not in my window. So we're going to talk about this, but I'm going to go ahead and say zoom out, number 3, until I can see that thing in my window. Oh, there it is. I see part of it. Now it's X squared, it's quadratic. I should be seeing a U appear, and there's my U. So what I can see is it's opening down like this. So up here is what we call our maximum. So we are increasing. At our maximum, we turn and we start to decrease. So that graph is what we want to sketch on our homework and then analyze out. So I'm going to switch it back over to our assignment today. And let's see, here's where I was at. So we ended up with not a lot of room here. I'm going to do number 1. Oops. Number 1 right here. We ended up with a graph that looked like that, okay? Now, this turns out to be, again, what we call a quadratic, and we could have answered that already. The reason why I knew it was quadratic was because I saw that X squared. Squared tells me it's quadratic, and it's always going to be U-shaped. So this is a quadratic function. We happen to have a max right up here. This side of the graph, the left side of the graph, is increasing. It turns at the max, and it starts to decrease, okay? I think we actually answered everything. It does not have a minimum. But the only other thing we can do is talk about is, it doesn't ask me to, but I will throw it in there, that we have right here what we call our vertical axis of symmetry. It's not answer to asking this question. I think it should be, but this is our axis of symmetry. Just a nice review of that. Okay, then we need to do number 5. Number 5 is the same thing. We have a word problem here with everything. And what's being modeled in this word problem then is created in that function. So we want to type in this function. Now, as I talked with my kids today, first thing I noticed is absolute value, vertical bars, absolute value. So the type of graph that I should come to expect is something that is V-shaped, either opening up or opening down, but it should be a V-shaped graph anytime I see absolute value. So I could already answer this question out, meaning it's going to be an absolute value function. And because it's V-shaped, I know I'm going to have either a max or a min, one of the two. So we got to figure out if this is opening up or down. Now, because I've done this for years, I know it's gonna be opening up, and my graph will look something like this, okay? So let's go get that. So let me switch back over to my calculator on my laptop. And let's go back to our calculator. Let's hit the y equals button in the top left-hand corner. Let's clear out this one, and let's type it in. Number 5 is asking me to do 1.28. And then it has the absolute value bars. So we talked about how do you access the absolute value bars by hitting this math here. Nowhere on my calculator do I see absolute value bars. So I gotta go to where there's more of them located. So I hit math, and then I want to get to this tab that has num. Okay, so we're gonna use our right arrow right here to move over between all those tabs. So I wanna go to num, and absolute value is the first one. ABS means absolute value. So click number 1 for our shortcut because it's highlighted. And if we've done it correctly on your graphing calculator, you should have absolute value bars. Now inside of there will be x minus 9.77. Make sure all looks good to go, hit graph, and I should be seeing that V now. And there it is, okay? There is my V. So with that V, eyes are going down, I am decreasing. Right here at the minimum, I turn and I start to increase. So let's label that now. Go back to my homework done with it. And we said right here we were decreasing. We turn right here, we start to increase. This is the minimum, absolute minimum we said. And there is no max then. And another thing I'm going to add in while we're talking is this vertical axis of symmetry right there. It is just nice to talk about. And I think that does it. We talked about increasing, decreasing. This is the absolute value function. It has a minimum, not a maximum. And I think that is it. Okay. So that will do